Welcome back to Swim Stories Unplugged, the podcast where we dive deep into the journeys of swimmers who inspire us both in and out of the water. Today's guest is nothing short of extraordinary. Danielle Moore, an open water marathon swimmer whose resilience and determination are unmatched. Just last month, Danielle completed the iconic 20 bridges swim around Manhattan, all while battling COVID without even knowing about it. Beyond her personal achievements, she has recently launched Endure Swim Coaching, a program designed to help swimmers push through challenges and discover their full potential. Danielle is also Danielle is also training to do the Three River Swim in Pittsburgh and bringing community and adventure to her open water swimming journey. Hi, Danielle. Welcome to Swim Stories Unplugged. Thank you for taking the time to meet with me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So, we're going to get started. I know you recently had some accolades, but we're going to go back in time a little bit and we're going to start with our first segment, what I call your first splash. So, can you bring us back to the memory of when you first started swimming?
Yeah, so I was always like one of those kids that loved to play in the pool. But as far as competitive swimming goes, it was 2005. I was 10 years old and summer vacation was about to begin. My mom didn't want my brother and I staring at the TV all day every day, so she signed us up for the swim team in our neighborhood pool, and it was really just to have something to do. It wasn't, there wasn't any pressure or anything, but it ended up sticking for both of us. So, yeah, it was starting that when I was 10.
When you were 10. So, when you were in the water, did you ever imagine that this is where you'll be getting to?
No.
No. Okay. So let's tell our listeners what we are your story. I really want to highlight your story. So, tell us the journey between 10 years and up to now or up to masters or
Yeah,
open water
so
swimming.
just to start off, so last month I completed the 20 bridges swim around Manhattan. So that's a 28.5-mile swim around the island of Manhattan.
Mhm.
I finished in 8 hours and 6 minutes, and it's one of the triple crown of open water swimming. So it's 20 bridges, the Catalina Channel, and the English Channel. Um, Obviously, a lot has happened between now and then, or then and now. But I'm just like thinking of the highlights. Um, I went from just swimming in the summer. I did that for 2 summers and then switched to year round with the YMCA. Was getting more serious about it. Swam in high school. I walked onto a college team, but unfortunately, my second week of my freshman year, we were doing an underwater set. I misjudged where I was in the pool. I thought I was at lane 4. I was at lane 6. I did a breaststroke pull down and I slammed my head into the wall, and that kind of like my name was on the roster for the team, but I wasn't really like swimming or doing much of anything. College was tough because I was struggling with brain injuries and mental health that came with that. So anyway, after I graduated college, I, did the whole figuring out what I want to do for work and all that sort of stuff. So swimming went to the wayside for a while. Then I was at sort of an in-between point. I was applying to grad school. So I was lifeguarding and teaching swim lessons before I went back to school. And one of the aquafit instructors, she had gathered a group of women in her class together to do the Philly Women's Try. And when she was telling me about that, I was like, I could do that. Like, obviously I can swim. Like, I have a little bit of a running background. And then, riding a bike, I know how to ride a bike. So in 2019, I signed up for and I did my first triathlon. Got really into that. It was kind of ironic because I thought that in triathlon I would kind of like move away from being, the swimmer and like swimming being the center of what I did. But it turns out doing triathlon really brought me back to swimming, but more towards the open water. I am a U.S. Masters swimming member. I swim a couple meets. I'm not a huge swim meet person, but I like the programming. I like workouts. I'm a U.S. Masters swimming coach myself. But really what I enjoy the most is open water. So I got more into that. I learned about marathon swimming in 2022 when someone I swam with at the time was training for the Catalina Channel. So I ended up meeting other people who have done these long distances and realized I could do that too. And I found that's really in the endurance space what I enjoy the most. So I did my first marathon swim last year, and then I swam 20 bridges this year.
Well, I want to say congratulations, and you kind of broke down your journey so beautifully, and not breaking down, I should say, you briefed, you outlined your journey. So we're gonna break it down into a small parts, and I'm gonna ask you a few questions if that's okay.
Of course.
So when you were swimming, and between college and your growing years, your teenage years, can you tell me about your experience of how that was? You said you had a head injury, which I'm sorry to hear about that. And how did how did you maneuver yourself through life when you faced that at such a young age?
Yeah, so like I said, I got that in college. So as far as the physicality and all that stuff, my swimming was normal in high school and before that. Honestly, I withdrew a lot after the concussion. I thought that I was healed and I wasn't, and it just very much separated me from my peers on the team. It was tough to ever feel like I fit in. So I would both withdraw athletically and socially. It was tough because it's to an extent I wanted to do the thing, but I was either in a ton of pain or super depressed. And I think one of the things that's really tough about head injury, concussion specifically, is it's so invisible. So I would have people, I got a lot of accusations of oh, well, you seem fine, or, oh, you did this the day before. And it's that's not how brain injuries work. And just because you don't see a giant, gash or something on me doesn't mean I'm not in pain or having symptoms.
Sure.
So, I think that was really the hardest part for me, is that there's this gap between what I'm experiencing internally and what is being viewed in the world, or what people interpret as me being fine or not. So,
right.
Yeah.
That I can imagine that would not be an easy challenge. An easy path to go through, right?
Yeah.
So, did you have friends, family, or coaches, or somebody by your side to get you through those moments?
I feel like my family was by my side for sure. I've had friends come and go. I definitely have a few core friends that have been with me before and after. I felt very alone in college. I actually graduated early so that I didn't have to be there anymore. And the good news with that is a lot of my core friendships and social groups and, ability to maintain those relationships came from after that point in my life.
Oh, okay. So I can, the social aspect of it and the mental health, when you're going through something challenging, everybody would be okay, no, this is not the right thing to do for you, or you seem fine, but
yeah.
How did you self-motivate yourself?
Like when I was in college, or
Yeah, when you were in college and you were facing these challenges.
um I mean, I guess it depends on the year.
Mm-hmm.
Freshman year, it's like, oh, there's all these possibilities. Sophomore year, I actually spent my spring semester in Washington, D.C. So obviously I wasn't doing anything swimming wise, but I spent a lot of my fall really looking forward to my spring semester. And then my third year in college, I decided to graduate a year early. So a lot of it was very outside the realm of swimming. It was just like,
Sure.
how do I get to, the next milestone sort of thing.
Okay. And after college, you said you mentioned that you took a little break, right?
Yeah.
And so what made you come back to swimming? Was it the water or was it what was it?
So like I said, in 2019, I did like some work that I worked on some political campaigns, and then I taught English in Spain. So like there really just wasn't space for swimming in my life at that point. I came home from Spain, was like trying to figure out what I wanted to do. Started applying to grad school, and I was doing this part-time job at a local pool gym. It was a Lifetime Fitness. And I mean, I've always just loved the water itself.
Mm-hmm.
But I think ultimately it was really that aquafit instructor and the ladies in that class who had all signed up for this women's triathlon. And it was the first time in a long time that like something had sparked me in that way of, oh, I could do that.
Okay. That sounds exciting. And I want to
Yeah.
ask you a few questions. I know you are a open water swimmer.
Mm-hmm.
So like how was that experience as a triathlete then? And are you still a triathlete or do you just do open
So
water swimming?
I'm taking a bit of a hiatus from triathlon. I imagine I'll come back at some point, but
Mm-hmm.
I want to say this without sounding, off-putting or like, anything is better than any other thing, but
Sure.
I don't love cycling. Like
Mm-hmm.
I love swimming and I love running, and I love both of them for very different reasons. I have never found that space in cycling. And I've trained for a half Ironman before. I've considered a full, but the more I obviously, I did the training plan. I got sick on the bike, so I got pulled off course. I was definitely prepared. It was just not my day. But honestly, every time after that I looked at these long distance or really any triathlon plan, I was like, the bike is taking away from the things that I like doing. And like I tried for 5 years to enjoy the bike, and I don't, and that's fine. In my mind, I'll always be a triathlete. I competed at USAT national championships last year. And for me, that felt like a really good stopping point. Like, it was on the same course of the half Ironman that I had DNF'd in 2022. So, I got to do a shorter version of the bike course. I crossed the finish line. It was a high for me. I had a good performance. Like, I felt good. And like, it just felt like, okay, like I want to take my swimming to the next level. And like, that means I can't fit in everything at once.
Sure.
And, I get to look back at those years fondly. And like, instead of leaving it when I didn't finish at the 70.3, I finished that unfinished business. And like, I'm at a point where I really just prefer to focus performance wise on swimming. And then I'll always be a runner because I love the sport. I love the community. There's a lot less pressure. I mean, I've worked very hard on like removing aspects of pressure in swimming, but it's never existed for me in running. So it's just a different sort of space for me. And obviously cross training is great. So that's kind of where I'm at with all of that.
Okay, that makes sense. Like when you don't like cycling, like, you just tend to be what you are, but you always had that experience. So thank you for sharing that. I'm going to ask you, when you did the 20, when you were preparing for the 20 bridges swim,
Mhm.
how long was that preparation for you?
Um, so my 20 bridges story is a little bit different. So, um, generally how the swim goes is you apply in January, you get your assigned slot in February, and then you train from there. I applied in January, but I only applied because my original goal was to swim 20 bridges next year. So I wanted to go through the application process and see, okay, here's the information they're looking for. Here's where I might have a gap, and here's what I need to do to fill that gap. That was my train of thought in January. So I got waitlisted, which I expected because, a lot of swimmers would have come in with more experience than me. And I had also checked off, there's another swim. Coincidentally, that swim was actually the day before my 20 bridges. It's called the Ederly Burke swim. And
Okay.
I believe it's 16.5 miles. It's something in that range. And that swim celebrates like the history of women in open water and marathon swimming. So I did get accepted to Ederly Burke. And that was probably the other facet of getting waitlisted for 20 bridges, was that I'd also applied. So anyway, all of this said, I ended up deciding to do an entirely different swim. I signed up for, it's called Three Rivers Marathon Swim. It's in Pittsburgh, and it's what it sounds like. You swim up and down the three rivers of Pittsburgh. That's a 30-kilometer, 18.6-mile swim. Through that, I connected with my coach. My coach lives around there. He's done the swim. So from February through the end of May, I was actually training for Three Rivers. End of May, I was going to a different swim. A woman in my region, her name's Mary Stella. Mary hosts this event called 24 times 24. And it's what it sounds like. It's a pool swim, 24 hours. You swim a mile every hour on the hour. So my original
24,
goal, what?
say it again, 24 miles
24.
every
So
hour.
yes, every hour on the hour, you swim a mile. You finish the
Okay.
mile, you get out of the pool and get ready for the next mile.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I signed up for that. I fundraised for, I signed up for it a lot because it was a fundraiser, and Mary's initiatives in the swimming and endurance space are just fantastic. But anyway, so I had been hoping to swim like 16 hours there. The night before I was driving up there, another swimmer had asked to carpool. So I was about to drop her off at her hotel, and I got rear-ended. And my
Oh
third
no.
concussion, I've had three. So my third concussion came from being rear-ended. So while I didn't get a concussion from that rear-ending, it sent me mentally and physically into a tailspin. I dropped after hour 8 at the 24-hour swim, and I was getting panic attacks every time I tried to swim. So I ended up deferring Three Rivers. At this point, we're in like June, July. I don't really have a goal. I had signed up for another swim, but like my heart wasn't really in it. I ended up selling my registration pretty quickly after I signed up for it. So I'm like kind of floating around, like not sure what to do, like how to feel. I don't have this goal, because Three Rivers was a very exciting swim to me, and it still is. And, for whenever we talk about what's next, I have unfinished business in Pittsburgh. So I'm kind of aimless. And towards the end of July, New York Open Water, the organization that hosts 20 Bridges, posted on Facebook, and they said, we have 3 openings for swimmers. And there were 3 different dates. One of them was September 7th. And I was joking. I sent it to 2 of my friends, and I was like, what if I just show up and swim one of these? And they were like, if you did September 7th, you'd probably finish. And I was like, you're kind of right. The training for 20 Bridges and Three Rivers looks very similar.
Okay.
So I emailed New York Open Water. I said, hey, I'm already on the wait list, so you have all of my information. Would I be able to take the September 7th slot? And they said yes. And, within 24 hours, I go from making a joke to being signed up for a 28.5-mile swim. So
when was this? How long did you have time between the September 7th swim and the sign up?
I had 7 weeks.
7 weeks. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So is that usually enough time when you're training for such a huge event like that?
So in theory, no. In practice, I had started my Three Rivers training early. So I had a strong enough base and like the continuous training between February and the end of May that I was able to pick back up and build to where I needed to. So it was possible in the very specific circumstances that I was in.
Okay. Wow, it felt like that. Did it ever feel like it was a coincidence or it was meant to be or something?
Yes, it did. Yeah.
It did. Yeah. Yeah. It like when I saw that post on Instagram, I was like, wow, that is so inspiring to see, like, a woman doing that.
Yeah.
And could you talk more about how you, like, I know you recently posted an article about what you learned from it.
Yes.
And would you be able to share some of online here with us?
Yeah. So the thing with these really long marathon swims is that obviously, there's the swimming and there's the training. The thing that's really unique about marathon swimming as opposed to like, let's say a triathlon or running a marathon or something like that. And I like, obviously there is an aspect of that in those other sports, but the preparation for a marathon swim is so intensely unique to marathon swimming. So, you could be an incredibly fast swimmer, or you could be a distance swimmer, winning like a 5K race or something like that. And I'm just speaking hypothetically. And you could go in for a 10-mile and not make it because I'll use an example of mine. So I historically have a tendency to get calf cramps. If you're not prepared in how to respond to that, your day's over. Like,
right.
It's like, at least with triathlon, like, let's say you get a cramp on the run, as long as you're within the time cutoff, like, you could go to the side and you can stretch out. Like, you're on land, you can grab a bottle from somebody. There are aid stations. In marathon swimming, if I don't have the things on the boat or on the kayak that I need to respond to that situation, I'm done. So sure. What I did and what I've been doing is last year, I swam my first marathon swim last year. Hang on. Oh, there we go. Okay. Case scenarios: back pain, calf cramps, and stomach aches. So I figured out during my training swims how to solve each of those problems. Okay. This year, I went back to the drawing board and I said, how do I prevent these problems in the first place? And that's not perfect, but going from 3 calf cramps in a 3.5-hour swim to 1 calf cramp in an 8-hour swim, that's a huge improvement to me. Huge, I think objectively, anybody would say that that's a sign of improved preparation. So absolutely, like, for me, when I am training for a swim like this, I am taking, like, preparation is a core value in what I do. So what kind of water is it? Something I talked about in my Substack article was that I wasn't prepared for the jellyfish larva and I got stung. And, fortunately it didn't affect my day too badly. It was annoying and a little painful, not terrible. But I could have been prepared for that. And, like, that's the sort of thing that I try to get out of every swim that I do.
Yeah, I like how you are taking each experience from what you had and then moving and then using it towards your next swims. That's really amazing to hear.
Yeah, so I think like I sort of clickbaited the title I wrote on Substack. I said mistakes I made during my 28.5-mile swim so you don't have to. But it's like I don't see that as like, oh no, like I got stung by jellyfish larvae, my swim wasn't worth doing. It's these were the gaps in my preparation and in how I executed my swim, and that's what I can reflect on that. I can be self-aware and I can move forward so that the next swim I do, those are the points I'm focused on. And, you know, there might be new challenges that I haven't prepared, or, that I do learn. Like, it's just continuously learning. And I think having that sense of curiosity and that ability to build the game plan and pivot and work through things, both in real time and after, is something that I found pretty crucial in marathon swimming.
That's so. I mean, I'm lacking words here to express how I'm feeling right now. Uh, but it reminded me when you were saying that, like, it reminded me of the picture you posted. You were so emotional when you were holding that medal.
Yeah.
And how did you feel when you finished that swim? And I know proud is the will be there
Yeah.
for sure. What else were you feeling in that moment?
I was feeling a lot of things for sure. So the way that my swim was structured, the 20 bridges swim has two different start points, just depending on how the tides are.
Sure.
I had the alternative start point. So I was at, it's called Mill Rock, and it's in the East River. But it's a lot closer to where the water becomes the Harlem River than the typical start point, which is Pier A. Anyway, so I had most of the East River to go at the end, whereas most people would have that at the beginning. And I found the East River was my least favorite. I was in a lot of pain. I like I said, I've like prepared on how to manage pain, and I did in all my training and everything. This pain it was getting worse. Like, I've never been in that type of pain or that much pain in my life. And I'm swimming in, I'm trying to finish this swim. So, I mean, I think I was kind of shocked I finished. My perspective changed on that when I tested positive for COVID a couple of days later. Found out I swam 28.5 miles with COVID. So
Right. Yeah.
I guess I can do anything now. Yeah, I was proud. It was one of the things my coach said to me in the last week of training and preparing was, think back on all you did to get here. And that really stuck with me. So, just thinking like, I put a lot of work into this. It paid off. One of my mantras in sport is bet on yourself. Like, I felt like, this deep sense of self-belief, that, and not that I need something external to validate that. But obviously it's nice. So like, I felt very validated in that. And just, excited that I pulled it off. And tired. I was ready to eat and like go to sleep. So
yeah, and like you swam for the 8 hours, and like even going through like finding out later like that pain was like COVID, and like having that positive mindset about where you can go with no matter what you do, and because you swam like in a pain that you have never felt before, you were not prepared. You were so prepared for your calf cramps, for your back pain, and like all of those things, but then you were not prepared for jellyfish, or you were not prepared for unimaginable pain. So like, I think the way you managed was so amazing.
Thank you.
Because you have that positive outlook, and once you have that positive mindset, I feel like a lot of things are achievable, even what you did not imagine can be achieved.
Yeah,
So
I think sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
no, go ahead.
I was definitely concerned with that pain, that like I hadn't done enough in my long swims.
Mm-hmm.
One of the like main milestone, you could argue, for a swim like 20 bridges is completing a continuous 6-hour swim. So I didn't finish my 6-hour swim, not because I wasn't capable. I actually felt great. I did it in the pool, which that was my first mistake. And I've learned from that too. That's also in the article, that I did too much of my training in the pool. But I got a chemical burn on my face from being in the pool for too long. So
Oh my God.
yes, I was like, I can't swim with this. And again, it's not that I didn't want to. So these swims you can do, they're sort of like in ultra running. There's the back-to-back idea too. So you can do like a few hours one day and a few hours the next. And like, not that it's entirely equal. But I had done 3 hours the day before. So I had the 3-4 back-to-back. So it wasn't perfect, but like, I was like, honestly, at this point, like, it's good enough. So,
Right.
But then obviously I'm swimming, I'm in pain, and I'm like, maybe it wasn't good enough. And I blame myself in my training, and that wasn't the case. So
Right. Yeah.
it was
I-
definitely a lesson in personal giving myself grace.
That, like, I feel like you have grown, even like, I feel like these experiences give you that growth, emotional, social, and like, just self-improvement in a way that you did not imagine that you would believe. So I want to say congratulations for the 20 bridges swim.
Thank you.
And on all your preparations. We're going to shift gears a little bit now.
Sure.
Okay. You said, you mentioned you were a coach as well.
Yeah.
So can you talk a little bit about how your coaching life is, who you coach, and how that is?
Yeah, and it's great timing too. I've always coached kind of informally. I've had the certifications, but I was unfortunately laid off in August, so I decided with the
Sorry to
time,
hear that.
yeah, in the time in between that step and my next career step, I finally officially launched my coaching business, which is Endure Swim Coaching. I think the athlete that I would describe that I like to coach is kind of similar to what I said earlier, someone who bets on themselves. And that doesn't always look like I'm only going to coach a marathon swimmer or a channel swimmer. Like, I really like coaching triathletes who are eager to improve their swim. I really like helping people through their first 5K or 10K swim. People building confidence in open water. All sorts of people. I would say I coach more women than men overall, but yeah, I mean, I like a wide variety of different types of athletes. Because it's like, I think you can learn something from everybody, even though I might be the coach and have the swim experience. It doesn't mean I can't learn from you. So, yeah, I would say that's, and then I'll coach occasionally with my master's group. Yeah, that's where I'm at.
Okay. So I want to say congratulations on your new swim career, and I hope you make waves throughout, like learning and coaching, because like learning is like, even though you're a coach, there's so much more you can learn. So I really like that. I want to say thank you so much for sharing your swim story with me. And then oh wait, before we wrap up, can you tell us what is next for you in swimming?
Yeah, so in the shortest term, I'm going to take a little bit more of an off season, ease back into swimming and running. It took me all month to recover from COVID. And then, like I said, I have unfinished business in Pittsburgh. So Three Rivers is up next. And I'm not going to share the details, but I am going to drop that I did just sign up for a very, very big swim today. So that'll be in a couple
exciting.
years. Yeah.
That's exciting. I like how you have like, not just a short-term goal for like in the next few months, but also like in a long term, which is looking into 2 years. So
Yes.
I'm gonna wish you all the best, and I hope you like, come back and share your story with us again.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. This was great.
Thank you so much. What an incredible story of strength, endurance, and heart. Danielle Moore reminds us that swimming is about more than just distance. It's about resilience, community, and the courage to keep going no matter the obstacles. To learn more about Danielle's journey and her coaching, check out her powerful Substack article and Endure Swim Coaching. Links are in the show notes, along with ways to reach out to her directly. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Swim Stories Unplugged. I'm your show host, Hital Sampat. If Danielle's story inspired you, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with your swim community. Until next time, keep swimming with heart.